Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Partnerships with Purpose podcast. We're going to explore ways to engage communities through service learning projects and research. I'm CEDRIC Shy with the Texas Target Communities program at Texas A&M University. We're hoping these stories will highlight and inspire more community-engaged partnerships. So today we have our Cooper Scholar winners, Juan and Liz. Welcome to the podcast. Before we get started, can y'all just both introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Hi, yes. So I'm Lisbeth Pineda. I'm a junior urban planning major and undergraduate. So something about myself, I'm from Houston, Texas, and I really love volleyball. I played varsity like all 4 years of high school.
Amazing.
And so I continue to go for that passion.
All right, great. Howdy, everyone. My name is Juan, and I'm my first year for the Master's in Urban Planning. Something cool, I guess, about myself is that I'm from Dallas. I like to rep my city.
Houston's better.
Yeah.
Debatable. But yeah, I love Dallas, and I've kind of just lived around Dallas and the greater Dallas area my whole life. But yeah, that's something about myself.
So you guys are both planning majors, undergraduate and one graduate. And can you tell us a little bit about why planning for you guys? Like, what was it that got you interested and wanted to be a planner?
Well, funny story, when I was applying to universities, I was applying to like a bunch at the same time. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to do architecture and like all of them. And so what I did not know was that A&M had like 3 programs into the architecture school. Like
Yeah.
I just chose the School of Architecture, and then it said something about like design tracks. I was like, oh, I guess that's like the drawing part of architecture. And I was like, okay, I'll choose this one. So then I got accepted into A&M, and I was like, okay. So then I went to the first meeting, and that's when they're like, okay, we have 3 programs, like stand up if you're urban planning, stand up if you're architecture, and stand up if you're construction science. And I was like, well, I thought I was in architecture. Like, why am I in urban planning? And I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest. So
Yeah, most people don't know it's a thing before college. That's very true.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, I guess I chose this. Like, I'll just go in through this for like the first week and see how it goes. So then I started, because my goal was to just like improve communities. And I thought by building better buildings or making them like safer or whatever, that was going to be the way to do that. And so once I got through the first week of urban planning courses, I was like, well, urban planning is this like the whole base foundation of all of this. So I think this is what I wanted to do, not actually architecture.
Yeah. So, like, you said you wanted to kind of get back to your community. Like, where did that come from for you?
So Houston is so big, and because it's so big, there's parts of Houston that are so bad and like not well maintained or anything that like nobody wants to live there. But for families like mine, it was like that was our only option. Like we had to get like the cheaper apartments, this and that. And I was like, well, why do we have to get these cheap apartments, have to get this side crosses that are so bad and like haven't been fixed in years. And so I was like, well, maybe if I go into somewhere in architecture, I can find the answers to my questions. And so I think just wanting to see what the problem was and why Houston wasn't responding the way it should have been.
That's amazing. It's like where you're from, where you're at. You're like, I want to come back here and like make change. That's awesome. So Juan, what about you? What got you into urban planning? I know you're a master's student, so
Yeah.
what'd you get your undergraduate in?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Texas at Arlington, and I did architecture there. But
Ironically.
I know. But yeah, my history with urban planning, it really started when, honestly, urban planning saved me in a way.
Wow.
In my undergrad, I just went through a really rough patch. And it was a situation that I just had to go through. And ultimately, I had to take a year off from architecture school. Ultimately, it was for the best. I ended up getting really involved with nonprofits. Shout out Jennifer Rangel from Rayo Planning.
Amazing.
Yeah, she was the first person that really opened their doors to me. And she's the first person to call me an urban planner. And that's a very special moment in my career thus far. But yeah, I mean, in my undergrad, I did architecture, and right off the bat, I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I love design, don't get me wrong, but I do not see myself designing a building. I want to have an impact in communities. And that is something that was almost instilled to me through my nonprofit journey with Rayo Planning and some of the other nonprofits in the Dallas area. Besides that, I've also done research, and that further solidified my interest in this field. And now that I've worked in Dallas, I definitely see the impact and how important it is to make good designs, but also make designs with intention, whether that is through, block walking and talking to people and getting just to know what they want in their communities, or simply just, thinking of ways, thinking of theories, thinking of, how can I make this place inclusive? There's a lot of stuff going on back in Dallas, and I just think to myself, why is this going on? What can we do about it? But long story short, urban planning was honestly, I don't want to say it was my savior, but it really redirected my life, and it got me into so many places, such as the conferences, scholarships, and honestly, being an Aggie now. It's always been my dream school, and I'm just happy that I'm here now.
Yeah, even at our Texas APA conference, I remember seeing. I was like, oh, that's Juan. He won
Yeah.
Cooper Scholars, and he just won another award.
No, yeah, that was a crazy moment. I did not expect that at all. Shout out Fred. But yeah, honestly, like it's just been a roller coaster, and I'm just happy that I'm in this field now. It's been, it really, again, kind of saved me. But
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, I'm glad.
Well, I've gotten to hear some of your stories already because when you guys applied for the Cooper Scholars Program, we got to read your stories, and the passion that you have to give back to your communities and your understanding of planning was like a big reason why you guys are here now. We saw that, I mean, these students, like one, have faced diversity challenges, and they are actually in this field to give back to where they came from. So even Juan, can you tell us like a little bit more about value planning and kind of what was your role there, and what did you like? How did that expand your mind in planning?
Yeah, for sure. So I want to say like a sophomore in my undergrad. So I was like 20 years old. And so I remember that I reached out to, well, first I went to Google and I searched up urban planning nonprofits or organizations, and that came up. And so I quickly sent them an email, and then I started to get involved with them as a volunteer with another student, Angel Garcia. He's from UNT. But yeah, I started to get involved with them, and some of the tasks that I was given by Jennifer were to create graphics for the Instagram page, or simply just going out to the events and sitting at the table and just talking to the people about, what our mission was and what we were trying to do and accomplish. We've done block walking events where we literally go and knock on doors, give out flyers, talk about what's going on. But yeah, it's been a big opportunity for me to not only learn but really refine my skill sets as a designer and as a planner. So yeah, I mean, there's more, but those are the examples that came to mind right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, something we say at TCC is respect the local knowledge. So it seems like a big part of what you were doing there was like extracting that local knowledge, meeting with people and stuff like that. So Liz, I know you're still in school. You're also an undergraduate, but can you tell us about some of the school projects that you've done? What has been something that has excited you, and like what was your role and why was it exciting?
Yeah, of course. So I'll say, I'm pretty sure I can speak for almost all undergraduates going through the same program, that studio was that like class that made you like, oh my God, like I really love this and I want to draw after having all these courses that are just like writing intensive and this and that.
History and
Oh my God. So then
Yeah.
literally, as soon as I got into that, we did 3 projects, but like the one that made me like, okay, like this is so cool was the last project, which was the most intensive one, the mixed use project. So basically that one was like in groups of 4, and we all have to contribute in some way or another to make this mixed use community, like giving people places to live, work, and play. And it was, for us, we had the option to do the golf course area here at A&M, or we had the opportunity to go into this a competition. So it's a competition from it's actually sponsored by APA. That one, they gave you the specific area in Detroit. And so this specific area, like you have to like, do the same project that you would do in the golf course area. And then just the idea of it being a competition, like, oh, you're going to get money if you win or whatever. It was like, oh my God, let's do this. Let's challenge ourselves. And of course, like, the golf course area, like the shape is so specific. And so for this project in Detroit, it was like this weird, like L shape. Like you really have to look at these like spaces and put a building and know that it's going to work there, like in all terms. So For this project, I was more in charge of the transportation, like making sure that every single area had a way of either walking or driving, that there was an entrance everywhere, and that people were just able to access it in multiple ways. And so I was also in charge of the plots. So that being with transportation, I had a lot of like say in how it was going to run. And I really liked that. With that project, I was able to learn that like I really love platting, even if it's
Yeah.
not actual designing, which is what I was more interested in. And so with that, I think I really liked the idea of doing those 3D renderings and being like, oh, this is so cool. Like this is actually a project that could be, because for the competition, like they take your idea. If you do win, they take your idea and they actually like go with your idea. So it's
Mhm.
like you're in getting yourself involved in a whole different city that you have like no idea how it looks like or anything, never been there, but you're having an input. But the bad news is that we missed the deadline to enter it, but
What?
there's always something bad about the
There
good.
was so much build up, Liz.
No, I was
and then
like, we're
y'all
gonna
won.
win. No, literally.
You missed it.
But yeah, that was so unfortunate. But
It
we
happens.
still put all our work in it. Like we put it all because we thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, so I guess if you could go
Yes.
back and change, you would meet the deadline.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my next question.
I would pay more attention. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I know. Well, Juan, you guys, as I've already talked about, Juan, you talked a little bit about kind of what you did, some cool stuff you did, even as an undergraduate. What about just challenges that y'all faced in college?
Several.
Yeah, let's just change gears.
I can let you go first. Juan.
Okay. I think one of the first challenges, well, transitioning from undergrad to grad school, that first semester, last semester, was really tough for me since my brain was just wired to think design and big picture and
Mm-hmm.
graphics. And ultimately, I was not doing that this past semester. So it was a lot of reading, a lot of writing. It was very out of my comfort zone. So I really had to readjust and just rewire my brain a little bit. And even this semester, with my site planning class, my first report, it was almost like an architecture portfolio. And my
Yeah.
professor, he was like, hey, this is great, but you need to kind of take a step back and add more text and stuff like that. So definitely, it's been a challenge, a little challenging transitioning from architecture to urban planning. But in terms of general like challenges, I would say just moving out of my house, moving out of Dallas, that was a bit challenging since, I had never lived by myself. I had always been at home with my parents. So definitely there was a lot of learning to do by myself. And I'm really glad that I did leave home. I feel like I've really learned and grown as a person. Yeah, I'm ready for next semester to live alone again.
You figured it out?
I think I'm still figuring things out, but I'm getting better for sure, better than where I started.
Yeah, so what's your advice to someone maybe experiencing that similar challenge, moving out of their home into somewhere by themselves? Like, what is something you learned?
Yeah, definitely take the challenge. There were times where I was like, maybe I should have just stayed home. Maybe I should have just done my undergrad. I mean, my grad school over there at Arlington. But take the challenge. People that challenge themselves are the people that achieve stuff. So just take the risk. That's my advice. Always take risks.
Thanks, man. What about you, Liz?
Well, I could have a whole list, but I'll just like do, I guess, the major two. So I'd say group projects were like a big challenge for me. I'm very like, I don't want to say independent, but like I really like trust myself only to do everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And studio was the first thing that tested me in group projects. Well, every other class that has group projects, but more studio because literally it was like, trust this person to do this part because then you're going to do the next part.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I don't trust this person. Like, I don't think they're going to do what I want them to do. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, it's not your project. It's everybody's project. And so I think just being able to like go through that and just being like, okay, I'm going to have to trust you on this one. And I have to remember it's not just my project. We're doing a team project. And so a lot of times also like they didn't meet the deadlines and stuff. So then I was like more frustrated because I was like, am I being the mom? Like,
Yeah.
how do I challenge? And so, but I'll say one thing I learned from that is just to, I guess, build trust even with people that you literally have no clue how they work, how they do work or anything. And just like know that you can always talk to professors. You can always be like, hey, this person didn't do so much. I just didn't want to put them under the roof. So could you just help me out? And if my project doesn't reflect all of this is because it was, a group project, and it's not just reflecting what I did on my own.
Yeah,
Um,
group projects are definitely a challenge in school. In urban planning,
yeah.
pretty much every class has group project.
Oh,
So yeah,
true.
you're a junior, so yeah, the rest of your college career will be group projects. So learn,
Yeah.
but you know your skills, you know what you bring to the table. So that's like the first step in a group project is knowing what. If it was up to you, you would probably do the whole thing and just take over it and do it by yourself. But hey, Liz, I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm gonna
Yep.
trust the people, and if someone says like I'm not good at meeting deadlines, just like I can help you do that.
Yeah,
I can help
that's
us meet
true.
deadlines. That's what I'm good at.
And before we go to the next question, I just
Yeah.
wanted to emphasize the second part, which was just commuting to Houston. So freshman year, I stayed here in College Station. I lived in College Station, and I was like, okay, like this is the first year after high school where I'm moving to like out of Houston to be on my own and like cook my food, this and that. And I took it really well. Like it wasn't that bad because I was going every weekend back to Houston to work. So it was fine. But then financially, it was just better for me to stay in Houston and just commute to college. So that just made it like, I mean, at some point in some semesters, it was just coming 4 days to College Station. And it was like,
Again.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
and then driving to Houston and just like the traffic as soon as you hit Houston. And it was like horrible. And I was basically like living this 9 to 5 by the time I got there, by the time I got here, like this and that. But I will say one thing that I really like, I guess, enjoy now is just seeing the urban planning on the way to Houston and on
Yeah.
the way to College Station. Just being able to appreciate like how different, because you pass through like several small cities on the way there. So it's like just, I guess, learning from that and taking all the good things out of all the bad. And so I guess now I'm like used to it and I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, well, I have this time to myself to look at all the urban planning and learn from this, and that's the good of this.
That's a great outlook, Liz.
Yeah.
Because you still have to drive like an hour and a half, probably
No,
3.
yeah. I
Oh
just
my
try to
God.
not think about it.
But that's such a great outlook. Okay, so looking ahead, you guys aren't going to be in college forever. This is just a small season. We get to learn some tools. So what are your hopes for your career? I mean, I guess you talked a little bit about it already, Liz and Juan, about going back. But what are some specific hopes or some dreams you have as a planner?
Yeah, I'll go first. Definitely for me, I want to go back to Dallas and continue my work with nonprofits.
Mm.
One of my goals is to definitely be very involved with a nonprofit or maybe start a new one in Dallas. I definitely want to focus more on the design aspect of things and, see where that goes, whether it's through partnerships with, Rio Planning or, any other like the Dallas Housing Coalition. I really want to be in that world for sure. Besides that, talking about licenses, I want to get my AICP, and that's something that it's in the radar right now. And besides that, I currently have a lead green associate certification, so I definitely want to expand upon that. But yeah, ultimately just give back to the community through the nonprofit world and just be in the known of what's going on in my city and try to assist in whatever way, shape, and form I can.
It's awesome. What about you, Liz?
So I mean, as an undergraduate, I don't really have so many things, but I do have goals that like I want to accomplish
Mm-hmm.
within like either private sector or public sector that I end up going with. So I guess I'll just say like I have an internship coming up, and so this is for Meta Planning and Design. It's in Katy, and whenever I interviewed with them, I really like the way they see job as a community, like this is your family
Mhm.
rather than this is just a corporation and we work and we finish projects. So I guess one of my goals, I'm really like family oriented, so I'm like I really want to work somewhere where I can feel like we're a community, we're a family, instead of like, oh my God, I dread to go to work,
Yeah.
like this is terrible. And so in terms of like what I want to work in is specifically like community development. I guess Houston has so many things that could be improved, like I said before. And I just feel like going specifically into this like community development sector, it would be like, I guess I could leave more impact than if I was going into like transportation or something like that. So definitely that, and just like letting my community know that, like informing them, because I feel like a lot of the problem of Houston is that many of these people don't know like anything on urban planning or how it goes, how it
Mm-hmm.
funds, like anything. So it's like they don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to increase anything because they don't know that this is the only way to increase like the safer community or this and that. So I guess just inform the community and get more involved with like how they see things, how we can improve Houston in the future for the next generations to come.
So that's awesome. Yeah, you guys are our future trust builders. I think I see y'all doing very similar things, but just in different cities in different ways.
For sure.
And like I said, that's why your application stood out to us, because you're like, man, they want to give back. They've overcome challenges, and we want to like fan your flame. So lastly, what's one thing you've learned that you think a planning student should know? It could be something specific. It could be just like an idea. It could be a quote. But what's like one takeaway so far that you had?
You can go first. I'm still thinking.
Okay. I mean, just in general, like urban planning is the foundation of the world we live in. So whatever we do now, it's going to impact the generations like 10 years from now. You know, these comprehensive plans and everything that comes with it. It's like, we're not going to do the change in a year or something for us. It's going to be for the future generations.
I think for me, it's definitely teamwork. I think it's very important to, talk to your peers. That is your network at the end of the day. Once you get out into the workforce, you're going to be working alongside these people. And similar to the collab, they were working with UT students, even though we have a rivalry going on between A&M and UT, at the end of the day, we're all planners. We're all in it for the same reason. So definitely get to know them and definitely get to understand everyone's skill set. For example, in my site planning class, I'm working in a group and I'm very knowledgeable when it comes to design, right? But maybe when it comes to like law or like, looking at the codes and all that stuff, I'm not as great. I'm very design heavy. And so there's other people that are more focused in that. We have a person that's more economic based since that is his undergrad. So definitely learn to split your work into the people that are able to produce all that kind of work and enjoy it. So like for me, I love CAD. I love being in Lumion, SketchUp, all that stuff, sketching.
Good for you.
So
Yeah, for real.
So, they kind of assign that to me and we have to do a pro forma. And so the person that's doing all the economic stuff, he's the one taking over. But definitely learn to not use each other, but leverage each other's skill sets the best you can.
Well, thank you all. That was great. You want to shout out someone or a professor or something?
Well, almost everybody does this, but Justin Goldby definitely, like,
Yeah,
he's the main person in our urban planning. Like, yay to him. He just makes the program better every year, even though I'm kind of jealous for like the future programs because they get different and better things.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's great. But you guys are going to make it better for the next people. So, you're paying it forward now.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out, of course, Professor Goldby, my current site planning professor. It's been awesome. I love that class so much. But I also want to shout out Dr. Garcia, Eves Garcia. Yeah. She's been very influential and very helpful when it came to applying to A&M. I met her at the APA conference in Allen 2 years ago. And back then I was very fixated in staying at, my undergrad school. And I started talking to her and she was like, you should come to A&M. I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Nah. And then like 2 months later, I find myself
curveballs in stories.
And then 2 months later, I find myself thinking about it again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to apply to A&M. I'll see what happens. And yeah, now we're here. So shout out Dr. Garcia.
Now you're in a podcast.
Yeah.
And of course to Texas Target Communities and CEDRIC and everyone in the team, for giving us a scholarship and the opportunity to share our story and, just give advice to the next generation of students that will be, in this program.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you'd like to learn more about our program, check out our Instagram at TAMUTXTC or head on over to our website at tx.ag/TXTC.